Okay, thank you everybody again for joining us this afternoon, for joining our webinar, Working in the United States for International Undergraduate Students. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to everybody who has joined us here today. Let's just get our slides going here. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here. There we go. Okay. So my name is Gabriella Hoffman. I'm an international student advisor here at the International Students and Programs Office. We're very excited to have you here at UC San Diego starting your degree programs. This webinar is going to focus on employment today. We hope you can join us for our other workshops that we're also running throughout the week. We are here at ISPO. We're here to assist you in many, many different ways. So aside from providing immigration advice, we're also here to help you navigate campus life and also provide a home away from home for all of you. And that's really going to be happening a lot this coming week. We have several different activities going on. We have our international coffee hours that are happening outside of Student Center B. So we hope you'll join us and join the community as you start your programs here. I am joined by my colleagues, Kirsty Onuchiki and Sierra Shannon. Both are student employment analysts at the UC San Diego Student Employment Office, which is part of the Career Center here on campus. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about employment regulations for both F1 and J1 students. And then Kirsty and Sierra are going to go into more detail specifically about on-campus employment and what tools you can use to get started with looking for jobs while you're here. So first, before we launch into our presentation, let's test your knowledge about work authorization in the United States.
I guess I can take random jobs like babysitting or driving Uber, since they're not real jobs anyways.
So think about it. I think this is true. All right. So those of you who said false are correct. You cannot just take any random job as an international student in the United States. There are certain regulations that you have to follow. So being an Uber driver, working as a babysitter, taking cash under the table, as they call it, is not something that you can do easily here. We'll go over all of those rules. Okay. So we're going to go a little bit over employment before you complete your program of study. A lot of students, which is very, very common and a really great way to complement your academic studies, is to get a job on campus or off campus before you start your, before you finish your degree program. On-campus employment, basically the way it's termed is work authorization that happens on the school premises. So you're employed by UC San Diego or a third party that is associated with UC San Diego. So that could be working in the dining halls or working in the bookstore, for example. These are usually limited, these jobs, to no more than 20 hours per week by regulation while classes are in session. These jobs do not have to be related to your program of study, whether you are in J1 or F1 status. They don't need to be related to your program of study, but there are different rules about how you get that work authorization, which we'll go over. So again, here's some examples of working on campus. It could be the library, the bookstore. There is a Starbucks on campus. So even though that is an off-campus company, because there's one actually located on campus, you can work at that one if you want to. Another type of on-campus work, a third party that I was mentioning, is a good example here, Jacobs Medical Center, because it's part of UC San Diego. If you were working there as a researcher, for example, that would be considered on campus. J1 students, so this is where the difference is. J1 students, you do have to gain work authorization from ISPO prior to beginning your work on campus. F1 students don't need any kind of authorization. So just keep that in mind that if you are a J1 student, you do need to apply for authorization from our office first. Then there's off-campus work. So what is considered off-campus work? Well, this is paid off-campus employment. Again, it's limited to no more than 20 hours a week while classes are in session, and it has to be related to your program of study. That's for both F1 and J1 students. So for both F1 and J1 students, if you want to work off campus before your program of study ends, you need to apply for either CPT or, if you're a J1 student, AT or academic training. All international students, again, must apply for work authorization prior to beginning work off campus. Don't wait until it's too late. You do need to apply beforehand. So F1 students, let's take a look at the type of work authorization you would need to apply for if you want to work off campus prior to graduation. Your work authorization is called Curricular Practical Training, or CPT. So with CPT, you have to have a valid job offer letter before you begin working in order to apply. You have to be maintaining your F1 status. And if you are not sure about what that means to maintain your F1 status, make sure you attend one of the Know the Rules sessions this week so that you understand how to do that. You do have to be enrolled for 3 quarters on the same CPIS ID number. And if you're going to be doing CPT, you must be enrolled in a CPT course. That's usually an internship course that you have to arrange with your department. So in order to apply for CPT, there is some planning involved. Again, this does have to be approved by our office, ISPO, before you begin working. Approval takes 2 weeks, so don't delay. If you know you're going to be getting a job, come to us as soon as possible once you have that job offer letter and apply for your work authorization. This does have to be reflected on your I-20 before you begin working. And just note as well that if you're going to be working, you do need to have a social security number, which I'll go over in a little bit more detail soon. So for more information about CPT, you can go to cpt.ucsd.edu and learn about all the different eligibility requirements and how to apply online. Okay, so for J1 students, your off-campus work authorization prior to and post-graduation is called academic training. Academic training, again, you must have a valid job offer letter in order to apply. You have to be maintaining your J1 status. You have to be enrolled for at least 1 quarter on the same CPIS ID number, and you have to be enrolled in an academic training course. Again, this is an internship course through your department that you would need to enroll in. For academic training, again, this is processed through our office. Also takes about 2 weeks. And again, just like CPT, it will be reflected on your DS 2019 before you begin working. You also have to have a social security number while you start working. You can actually apply for your social security number if you don't have it yet after you've begun working, as long as it is being processed, as long as you've applied for it after you started your job. So for more information to apply for academic training, go to at.ucsd.edu. Okay, so now your social security number, which is really a big question a lot of our international students have. So international students can receive a social security number, or otherwise known as SSN, once they gain employment authorization for a paid job. You can't just go and apply for one. You do already have to have a job offer in place in order to apply for one. The Social Security number is issued by the Social Security Administration, not by ISPO, not our office. We can provide you with the support documentation to apply for it, but it's actually the Social Security Administration that grants you the card. So in order to apply for it, first, as mentioned, you need to obtain proof of employment authorization, which is what our office will give you once you apply. Then you apply for your Social Security number support letter through our office. You take then those documents down to the Social Security Administration and apply. And usually the wait is about 10 days to get your Social Security number. So all of these things can be applied for online via the iPortal at iportal.ucsd.edu. Okay, let's go through another myth.
Now that I have a Social Security card, I can work anywhere, anytime.
All right, so what do you think? True or false? So that is false. Your social security number cannot be used without proper work authorization. We do have sometimes students think that just because they have the number that they can immediately start working. That is not the case. Be sure you apply for work authorization before you begin work. Your social security number is needed later, but you can't just use it to apply for jobs and start working. Okay, so briefly about taxes, as this is a really confusing topic, not only for international students, but for Americans as well. Taxes are very complicated here, but I want to make sure that all of you have at least a basic understanding of what your tax reporting obligations are as an international student here. So tax day in the United States always falls on April 15th. That means you need to file tax forms by that date. All international students, whether you have earned money or not, must complete and file what's called the Form 8843. Again, even if you've not earned any money. The Form 8843 is not an income tax return. It's an informational statement that's required by the US government for all international students to complete. So let's say that you do have a job. If you do have a job, you've earned money, then while you're here in the United States, then you will be required to file additional forms on top of the Form 8843. So this is called an income tax return. More information about this can be found on this website here, internationaltaxhelp.ucsd.edu. Do note that UC San Diego nor any of its employees are authorized to offer tax advice to students. Our office, unfortunately, is not authorized to give this information either. But if you go to the website linked here, there's a really helpful set of information here and different charts to help explain what type of forms you do need to file. And it will provide links to where you can actually find those forms and complete them. So make sure you visit this right around January, February time. I would recommend taking a look at this site so you know exactly what you need to complete. Okay, so I'm going to go over volunteering here a little bit because this gets confusing sometimes as well. Volunteering is individuals who volunteer or donate their services, usually on a part-time basis, for public service or humanitarian objectives. This is not the same as being an employee without compensation of any kind. So there's a difference. Volunteering is okay without any kind of work authorization. You don't need it as long as it is a true volunteer experience. More information about what is considered volunteering, a volunteer position, is available at the Department of Labor, dol.gov. Again, this is not the same as an employer offering you a job without pay. That is not volunteering, and you would still need work authorization for that type of job. Okay, so again, for volunteering, J1 and F1 students are free to engage in volunteer work without prior authorization, as long as it's truly a volunteer position. Working without pay is not the same as volunteering. So if you're unclear, if you're not sure, if you're ever in doubt, come into the International Students and Programs office. You can speak to an advisor and we can help you make that determination. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about employment after you complete your program of study. It's never too early to start thinking about these things, even though I know many of you are at the beginning of your program of study here. So for F1 students, employment options, what do you have available to you when you want to start looking for a job after you graduate? Well, for F1 students, employment authorization after degree completion is called Optional Practical Training, or OPT. This is authorized for 12 months after your program of study. And those of you in STEM majors can apply for an additional 24-month extension after close to when you complete those first 12 months. So you get a full, for STEM majors, you get a full 36 months of academic post-completion OPT available to you. Eligibility for OPT is that you have to be enrolled for at least 3 quarters on the same CBIS ID. You do have to be within the OPT application window, which I'll go over in a moment. And you have to have maintained your F1 status for your program of study here. So the OPT application window you actually have quite a bit of time to apply for OPT. It's a window of 5 months. So you can actually begin your application for OPT 90 days before your program end date. So start thinking about this as you get closer to graduation. And then you can actually apply all the way up to 60 days after your program end date on your I-20. For OPT, just do know that it takes a long time to apply. So this application is approved by United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, not ISPO. So it's not the nice 2-week turnaround that we can have ready for you the way it is with CPT and academic training. Approval does take a while, and it can take anywhere from 90 to 120 days. So be sure to keep that in mind when you are applying for work authorization. You do have to have what is called an EAD card, an employment authorization document from USCIS before you can start working. So make sure to factor this in. OPT has a lot of different steps to it. It can be a complex process to apply, so I recommend going to opt.ucsd.edu for more information on how to apply. Okay, so for our J1 students, post-completion work authorization is called academic training, same as what it's called for pre-completion work authorization. It's authorized for the same length of your J1 program. So for example, if you are an exchange student and you're here for 6 months, you are authorized for up to 6 months of academic training. If you are a master's student, you are limited to 18 months. So even if your master's program, let's say, is 24 months long, you can only do up to 18 months. Just bear that in mind. For PhD students, you can actually apply for up to 36 months of academic training that's available to you. In order to apply for academic training, again, you have to have a valid job offer letter. You have to have been maintaining J1 status, and your program end date must be in the future, the program end date that's listed on your DS 2019. Academic training, again, is approved by ISPO, so it takes about 2 weeks. Be sure to apply at least 2 weeks before your program end date on your DS 2019. It has to be reflected on your DS 2019 before you begin working. And note that you do have to have a social security number, so you can apply for that as well through our office via the iPortal. So go to at.ucsd for more information on post-completion academic training. Okay, so question, is OPT or academic training a work visa? The answer is no. This is not a separate visa. OPT and AT is an extension of your existing F1 or J1 status. So even if you are no longer taking classes at UCSD, you're still maintaining your student status while you're on OPT and academic training. That means the International Students and Programs Office is still your home office, and you can still come to advising to us while you are on your post-completion work authorization, since we hold your record here during that time. Again, for more information about employment, go to iemployment.ucsd.edu. Okay, so now I'm just going to go briefly over some Career Center resources, but my colleagues are going to go into more depth about on-campus resources in just a moment. So this is just a brief overview. So looking at where you can start when you're thinking about your career search or looking at on-campus jobs, there's a variety of resources at the Career Services Center for international students, for undergraduates, that I recommend you take a look at as soon as you can. The Career Center offers various different services for undergraduate students, including career advising and coaching, career exploration. If you're looking into going to graduate school later, maybe medical school, they can do career exploration advising, resume reviews, job search assistance, workshops and events, and various different online resources as well, which I'll go over here. So these are just a handful of some of the online resources that are really going to be helpful for you. The biggest one being Handshake. This is where the Career Center posts all of its different jobs and internships available that you can take a look at. All of its events are listed there as well. And so I definitely recommend looking at Handshake as soon as possible. This is going to be where you go to look for those things. Big Interview is another resource. This provides interviewing guides and virtual practice on how to interview. LinkedIn, of course, this is probably more familiar to our students. This is a global platform, but it is really widely used in the United States. I highly recommend setting up a profile, and if you need assistance with how you want to set that up, the Career Center can provide some guidance there as well. It's really important that you can use this looking for job opportunities, to network, and so forth. And then lastly, I want to highlight Going Global. This is a platform for US job postings post-graduation, and it provides information about employers that support or sponsor H-1B, which is a work visa. So this might be something you want to look into as you're navigating through the end of your academic career, and you're looking potentially, if you're looking for jobs permanently in the United States afterward. I do want to let everybody know getting an H-1B is very, very, very competitive. It does need to be sponsored by the employer, so do be aware of that. It's certainly not a guarantee. The nice thing about, again, your F1 and J1 statuses is that you can get good work experience in the United States. And if you're lucky and a company wants to sponsor you, then they could sponsor you for the H-1B, but just do know that it is very, very competitive. Lastly here, I just want to highlight the Career Center's location. They're in the center of campus, just off of Library Walk. These are their hours listed here. They also have a Career Peer Educator program that's available 10 to 3 p.m. Every day during the weekday. Their information is also listed here, career.ucsd.edu. There is a career fair coming up in early October as well, so I highly recommend taking a look at this and signing up for events and going to those events as you start your career here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleagues to talk a little bit more about on-campus work authorization. Just switch over to that presentation.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sierra Shannon and I'm joined here by my colleague Kirsty Onoshiki, and we work in the Student Employment Office at the Career Center. Most importantly, we post all of the jobs on campus onto Handshake, and Kirsty's going to go over Handshake with you in depth in just a few minutes, but I wanted to give you an overview of what our office does. So to begin, I want to reiterate and let you know that international students are eligible to work on campus at UCSD. Okay, first and foremost, you are eligible to work on campus for on-campus jobs. If you wish to find a job on campus, or if you already have a job, we're here for you, and we provide meaningful work experiences for over 170 on-campus departments. So UCSD is a huge campus, and we really rely on our student workers to help us function. So we maximize students' on-campus work experience and help them reach their career goals for later after when you graduate. So like I said, we assist on-campus departments to recruit and fill vacant student positions that are generally less than 20 hours per week. Handshake is our online jobs portal, and my coworker will go over that in just a little bit. So the benefits of on-campus employment, some of the benefits are listed out here. Of course, the biggest benefits of working on campus is that we all work to make money, right? Money is important. So that's an obvious reason. But the rates at UCSD in our on-campus jobs are really competitive. And another benefit is a structured schedule. Your on-campus job will work with your class schedule. And also, if you don't have a vehicle here, it makes things a lot easier for you to just be able to walk from class to your job and back to your house, rather than getting a vehicle and having to go off campus. So transferable skills are really important. In your on-campus job, you'll acquire skills, and a lot of that builds your self-confidence. so that when you graduate and go into the real career world, you'll already have been set up and familiar with a network of contacts, invaluable work experiences and references. Also, working with UCSD, since we are such an international campus, you'll learn to work with different types of people, people from different backgrounds as you, and a lot of the friends that I made in college, I'm still friends with. So you'll make a lot of meaningful relationships as well. So our next slide discusses a variety of careers and industries represented at UCSD. So like I said, we have 170 on-campus departments that need to hire students, need to hire international students. So what that means is there are a variety of positions that need to be filled. And these positions are all listed on Handshake. And these positions range from everything like a summer swim instructor to web developers, laboratory assistants, and a lot of administrative positions. So finding a job when you're ready. There is a myth that you can only find a job during the beginning of the academic year, which is fall, which starts next week. That is not true. My office posts jobs every single day on Handshake. So the Student Employment's office posts jobs every day, and you can find a job at any time of the year, not just during fall. We post new jobs every day that have a variety of different start dates. So you can start, if you're not ready to start work this year, you can absolutely find something that you're interested in next year as well. Defining on-campus employment, again, working on school premises employed by UCSD. So any UC San Diego department, that's going to be the largest majority that employs students. Of course, working on the school premises employed by a third party, which was previously stated like Starbucks, is an option. And then also working at an off-campus location that is educationally affiliated with UCSD is mainly just used for graduate students only. But like I said, we really need student workers at UCSD for UCSD to function. They're a huge part of this campus, and I couldn't get my job done without the help of my student workers. So I really recommend that you go on to Handshake and create your student profile and apply for jobs. So working on campus, some helpful information for you. Again, international students are welcome and eligible to apply for jobs on Handshake. How many hours can you work? That's a question that we get quite a bit. As long as you are enrolled and registered, you can work up to 20 hours per week. And when does a student need to stop working? Each student must stop working at the end of the program of studies or end of authorized work authorization. If you're confused about that or if you have any questions, please come to the International Programs Office or submit an inquiry on their website. So the most common visa types are F1 and J1. And if you have any other visa classification, and if you're wondering whether or not you can work on campus, please contact the International Students and Programs Office for assistance. And I'm not sure if you can see it or if it's fuzzy, but their email and phone number is there for you on the screen. Awesome. So now my coworker, Kirsty, is going to discuss a little bit about Handshake. Again, Handshake is our new online jobs portal, and there's some super helpful tips that she's going to go over with you about how to find a job that works best for you here at UCSD.
Alrighty, hi everyone, my name is Kirsty Onishiki. I work over at the Student Employment Office. Sierra Shannon, who just spoke, is my coworker. And I'm just going to really kind of go over a big overview over the Handshake system. We've had Handshake, I think, for about 1.5 years now, so it is still kind of relatively new. So if you have not heard of it, I'm really just going to be going over what Handshake is and what it has to offer. employment here. So you see the first slide. If you go to the first slide, everyone should go to the website ucsd.joinhandshake.com. Once you end up visiting the website, you're going to want to create your account, make sure it's complete and full, and once you end up registering your account, you can then kind of start shopping around for jobs and see what's available here on campus. Alrighty, so this is just an example of the Handshake landing page. So once you end up, say, creating your profile, once you log in, this is going to be kind of your home page that you end up viewing. So if you do want to, or if you're interested in applying for jobs on campus, what you're first going to want to do is click on the jobs kind of heading on the very top middle page, I'd say, to see all types of on-campus employment. Which you can see right there. So step 2, so what you're going to want to do is specifically filter by on-campus, because Handshake will show you off-campus opportunities as well. So what's really important, if you're specifically looking for on-campus jobs, say you want to work at Starbucks, or if you want to work at the mathematics department, you do need to make sure to filter by on-campus as well as part-time. If you do not filter by those options, like I said, you're going to see kind of everything, not only here at UC San Diego, but other jobs around the San Diego area. So I just wanted to kind of review a few FAQs that we've gotten from some students just to clarify on some things. Number one, some departments on campus and the job posting itself asks for you to provide some type of job number. So they say, please make sure to submit your application to somebody's email and make sure to include the job number. Unfortunately, the Handshake system, the only place where you can actually view the job number is in the URL itself. We do advise departments to add separately the job number in the job posting, but unfortunately that does not always happen. So the best place for you guys to view that, if a department asks you to add the job number, is in the URL itself. So you can see an example right up top. We've kind of boxed the job number for this example here. So if by chance you have any questions about that, feel free to let us know. And you can definitely contact us as well. And then number 2, for the other document required, a lot of jobs on campus actually require you to attach some type of documentation to your job application, whether it be a resume, whether it be a cover letter. Another common document that's required to attach can be a class schedule. So just letting you know, just make sure if you haven't already visited the Career Center to have your resume or cover letter, or if you wanted to do a mock interview with one of our career coaches, they can help you with that for sure before you start applying to jobs. Another just key thing I wanted to say is every single job on the Handshake system is very, very different. So what you're going to always want to make sure that you do is read the job description in its entirety, as well as make sure to re-review the how to apply instructions, because some might say to just apply on an external website like a Google form. Some might say to email somebody directly. A lot of people end up kind of zooming past those instructions. So really we want to kind of emphasize everyone to reread everything, be clear to follow instructions, because that can be a huge opportunity that's missed for you guys. Alrighty, so I also wanted just to kind of add that you can make student employment appointments in Handshake. You can make appointments with our office, so the Student Employment Office, if you have any type of on-campus employment inquiry. You can also make appointments in a Handshake if you wanted to, like I said, review your resume or cover letter with one of the career coaches. They can definitely help you out with that. So you can definitely do that by visiting the Handshake website and trying to schedule a new appointment. I believe the appointments should be set a week in advance, so you should be able to see those kind of week by week on a week-by-week basis. And then I wanted to also add, for any type of on-campus job application, a lot of the job postings on the very top of the page do happen to say when the expiration date of the job is. I would recommend for everybody, even though a job says that the expiration date or when the job will close might be a month or 2 months from now, I do recommend that everyone should apply for the job as soon as possible if you are interested. Because anytime the department is, say, interested or has filled the job, they might close it earlier than that initial expiration date. So if you can, I'd say mass apply to any job that you're interested in. Don't just apply to 1 or 2, because it is not guaranteed that you would get that job, because all jobs on campus are extremely competitive. So if you have any questions navigating through the website, through Handshake, creating your account, anything like that, you can always make an appointment with one of us from the student employment team, or like I said, you can make an appointment with one of the career coaches in the Career Center as well. Alrighty, so this is just going into a little bit detail in order to make an appointment with one of us here in the student employment office. Like I said, what you're first going to want to do is click on create an appointment. Your next step is going to want to click student employment office, and then always make sure to select that you're an international student so that we can make proper preparations for our one-on-one. This screen is just a quick reference to kind of how it would look in the system. This will show you the availabilities that you can see, as well as kind of the time slots. So if you are interested in signing up with Mary Lewis, who is the manager of the Student Employment Office, you can definitely sign up with her, or anybody else from the Student Employment Office as well. Here's just another slide, just letting you know that we do have a lot of resources here at the Career Center, not just the Student Employment Office to help you with on-campus jobs, but we do have drop-in advising that was mentioned earlier today, as well as career advising. So if you want to, say, just kind of quickly just come in, an express appointment, you do not need to make an appointment prior to coming into the Career Center. You can just come into drop-in advising, or if you wanted to really have that one-on-one session with an actual career employee of UCSD, you can definitely do that, but that would need to be scheduled via Handshake. This last slide here, this is just giving you guys our information. Our team is consisted of 4 people, including myself. Our office hours are usually Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. We are located in the 2nd floor of the Career Services Center. If you ever wanted to meet us, feel free to come by. And then it has our email address listed right there. So studentemployment@ucsd.edu. If you have any specific questions or any just questions at all, or if you wanted to come visit us, feel free to do so.
Okay, thank you so much, Kirsty and Sierra, for that great information. We do have some time left, so I wanted to open up the presentation for any questions that anyone has. You can, I think most of you have figured out how to use the chat function in the webinar to ask questions. So if you do have those questions, go ahead and ask, and we'll select a few that we think would be helpful for the group, and we'll answer those for you.
So I see that there are several questions speaking about cover letters. I do want to let you know that you can create an appointment on Handshake with somebody at the Career Center to review your resume and cover letter for you. Again, you can set that appointment up on Handshake using the demonstration that Kirsty showed you. And somebody is available every day, and usually there's multiple time slots. And if you just want to stop by and not make an appointment, we have our career peer educators who are UCSD students who have been trained by our staff to go over your resume and cover letter with you. So feel free to just stop by the Career Center your first few weeks here, and we can definitely work on your resume and cover letter with you.
There was another question asking if we needed, or if you guys needed resumes to apply for on-campus jobs. So I'd say probably 95% of jobs on campus do require you to have a resume. Like I said, the most common documents that's asked of in a job posting is a resume and a cover letter. So I do highly recommend that you do visit the Career Center, meet with one of the either career peer educators or one of the career coaches. They can definitely help you out with reviewing your resume, mock interview, cover letter, all things like that. They can definitely help you out with that.
So there's a couple of questions asking about attendance for this webinar, just to quickly answer that. Whether your attendance is recorded and verified automatically, yes. If you've signed up for this webinar, we have your information and we can verify that you have attended, so thank you. There are also a couple of questions I noticed about work authorization. One about how to maintain status while you're on OPT, discussing the OPT requirements and application. So these are really actually complex questions, not really designed for this presentation. What I recommend is that you take part in our weekly webinar series that goes on throughout every single quarter of the year, that goes into greater detail, talking about OPT, how to maintain your status, when to apply, when you're eligible, and so forth. This is meant to just kind of give an overview. So I recommend going to that. If you go to our website at istudents.ucsd.edu, click on F1 or J1 and employment, you'll see our entire webinar schedule, and you can sign up for one of those.
I see a question about, are there any specific requirements for an on-campus job? And I do want to let you know that if you are an enrolled or registered student here at UCSD, you are eligible to work on campus. So that is the main requirement, that you have been enrolled or officially registered. That's the only requirement. But again, UCSD is not a placement campus. We cannot put you in a job on campus. Everything here is competitive, and while we do have hundreds of jobs, we have a job for everyone. The application process is competitive, right? You are competing against your peers and other students on campus. So that's why we want you to have your resume and cover letter reviewed so that you have the best chance of getting offered a position on campus.
I would like to add as well, so even though we do kind of have the campus-wide requirement that you do need to be a registered and or enrolled student who has paid their fees to work on campus, there are some jobs on campus as well that are extremely specialized. So say you wanted to be a shuttle driver. There are a little bit more requirements for that job. I believe you need to have a valid California driver's license as well as a good driving record as well. So depending on what the job is, depending on how specialized the job is as well, it can there can be added kind of requirements for that job as well.
I see a couple of questions about CPT, the eligibility, and summer internships, all really good questions. So for CPT, the basic prerequisites are that you have a job offer letter. That's the biggest piece. The job offer letter, whether you're going to be working during the academic year, or let's say you have an off-campus job during the summer, you need the job offer letter. You need to be enrolled in internship units, and those internship units, you will need to contact your department for them to help you get enrolled in those units. Or you can go to our academic internship program. They're a great resource on campus to help you look for internships and can help you get enrolled in a course. But you need that enrollment, you need that job offer letter, and then you need to apply for work authorization once you have those two things through the International Students and Programs Office. So those are the basic eligibility requirements. Someone did have a question about whether they needed CPT to work over the summer, and the answer is, if that job is off campus, yes, you would need to apply for CPT, and then you would need to be enrolled in internship units during the summer session so that you can do that.
I also saw a question earlier today. There were some questions about social security numbers and how to get a social security number. I just wanted to let everybody know that it is not, or if you don't have a social security number already, in order to apply for a job, an on-campus job, here on campus, you do not need to necessarily have a social security number or a social security card right away before you apply. However, it is required that you do need to get a social security card and a number once you end up applying and are getting a job offer. There is a process for that where you do need to get multiple letters and then eventually go to the Social Security Administration office to apply for your Social Security card. But I just wanted to clarify to everyone that it is not required that you need to have that Social Security card for applying to jobs on campus.
And just to clarify too, you do not need a Social Security number in order to apply for CPT. That can be done simultaneously. So you could apply for CPT and then also ask ISPO for a support letter to go and apply for your SSN as well. So you do not need it. It's not an eligibility requirement for CPT or OPT or anything else.
I see a question about on-campus jobs conducting interviews. Yes, the majority, 99% of all of the on-campus jobs at UCSD, they will conduct interviews. And if you would like to do a mock interview and practice your interview skills, there are people and staff at the Career Center that can help you with that. And we're happy to do a trial run with you so that you feel confident when you go to your interview. I have another question. How long does it normally take to get the answer back from the job that I've applied to? That's a good question. Some departments on campus need somebody right away, so the turnaround time will be quite quick. Other times, I've known it to take maybe up to 2 months, right? They're in no rush. There's a future need, so somebody isn't needed right away. So it really depends on the department's need. And like Kirsty suggested earlier, don't apply to just 1 or 2 jobs on Handshake. You should really be casting a wide net to really put yourself out there, especially if you don't have any job history experience. Applying to as many jobs as you can is very beneficial because you have a greater chance of getting a call back.
So we had a question about work experience. So a lot of jobs on campus, they're classified in different levels. So if you are, say, just starting out, if you want to just kind of dip your feet in the water and get an on-campus job, there are less specialized jobs on campus as well as extremely specialized jobs on campus as well. So any type of job that you see in Handshake for on campus usually will have an ending in stdt or student 2 to student 4. So what you'll see on any type of on-campus job, it'll always end in some type of classification. So I wanted to add that usually stdt or student 2 jobs are kind of on the lower pay side. All on-campus jobs start at $12 an hour. And then, so if you wanted to kind of, like I said, kind of get the start, get some work experience on your resume, it might be good to really just kind of take a look at the stdt or student 2 jobs. If you want to do a little bit something more specialized, it'd probably be best to look at something listed as maybe an stdt 3 or an stdt 4. Like I said, feel free to always come into the Career Center. We can definitely help you out with kind of navigating through the Handshake system. If you're having any trouble applying for jobs or any troubles at all, we can definitely help you out with that.
We're seeing a lot of questions about OPT and CPT, and I want to remind you that the International Programs Office has websites that can help you with that information that you can go to and refer to. And we'll give you those websites again.
Yeah, so those websites, if you go to opt.ucsd.edu, or if you go to cpt.ucsd.edu, those will take you straight to our websites that go over in detail what each type of work authorization is and how to apply for it, and you can check your eligibility there as well. So I highly recommend going there. And then as mentioned earlier, on those pages, we reference the weekly webinar series that we have throughout the academic year. It's a format similar to this, but it focuses specifically on how to apply for CPT and OPT. You can ask questions and everything. So definitely check out those websites. Again, opt.ucsd.edu and cpt.ucsd.edu. And for our J1 students, it's at.ucsd.edu to look at those details for employment authorization.
And then if you have any specific questions as well, I know there might be a specific one-off example that you might have some trouble with, feel free to contact us directly. Like we said, this is kind of a very generic, general presentation, but if you have any specific questions and if you have a specific case, feel free to contact us directly. We're more than happy to meet with you one-on-one as well.
And again, if you have any questions about Handshake or finding a job on campus at UCSD, you can email us at studentemployment, that's one word, studentemployment@ucsd.edu. Oh, and again, just to reiterate, the stdt that Kirsty was talking about earlier, that's at the end of all of the jobs on campus, that just means the student level. And again, you'll see jobs that say stdt 2, 3, and 4. And that indication of the number is basically about the qualifications level of the job. The higher the number, the higher the qualifications would need to be for you to hold that job.
Okay, so it looks like we are, the questions are slowing down a little bit here, which is great. I just did want to repeat that this is a general overview presentation, but we are always here to help assist with individual questions. So please take a look at the contact information up on the slide right now for student employment. And then please do contact ISPO as well. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We offer walk-in advising and appointment advising as well. You can come in and ask your individual questions. And then, of course, as I mentioned, take a look at those web links as well, so you can inform yourself and figure out more about work authorization and what you want to apply for coming up. So thank you all very, very much for joining us this afternoon. We hope to see you at the rest of our webinar series and presentation series this week. And our coffee hours as well, and we look forward to welcoming you to the campus. Thank you all again.
Watch more webinars and attend in-person workshops by visiting iwebinars.ucsd.edu.